Lots of great vehicles coming in 2021.
Let's talk about that.
All right. Well, I think first off, I want to talk about, personally, the new Audi E-Tron GT. Built on the same Porsche Taycan frame and everything. 590 horsepower, 0 to 60, mid threes. And honestly, I love the look of it. You know, the Taycan, of course, came out a year or two ago. I always felt, you know, as someone who liked the Panamera, you know, even when it was polarizing early on, I have always liked the look of the Panamera. I just felt that the Taycan was out of place with the Porsche lineup. It looks good, don't get me wrong, but I just didn't quite ever buy it. Now, the e-tron, that looks like a really cool Audi. I like it a lot. What do you think?
It does. I agree. Like, of course, it's going to have like a proven frame and balance with the Taycan platform, but also I just liked how much more aggressive and exotic this Audi looks. I mean, it's got that wide stance, like the whole car is sort of flattened out. Yeah, that's a great nomination.
Now, I guess two things that are a little concerning. You know, one I can get over pretty quickly. It's the $100,000 price tag. Now, that's steep. You're passing up the A4, A5, A6, A7 and saying I want an electric vehicle. Now, that's tough.
Is the range good on this?
No. Now,
what do you mean by no?
Okay, so I think, you know, we've talked about this in the past. My criteria for an electric car is 350 miles of range. I think that's the sweet spot. I think that's perfect.
And what have we seen with the e-tron?
E-tron's 249.
250, okay.
Yeah, 250. Now, don't get me wrong. I mean, that's not your i3, you know, with 70, 80 miles of range. It's good. For most things, it could be perfect. I just personally feel like to fully say, you know what, I can get rid of an ICE, get rid of an internal combustion engine. 350 is where you want to be on an electric car.
Okay. At the same time, I think someone who's buying this, spending $100,000 is probably not going to have it as their only vehicle too, right? So it may not be quite the weekend warrior as the 350 mile range you want.
But it looks great.
It does.
It looks really good.
It does. It's going to be a great car in 2021, and Audi's first like serious performance offering in the electric space.
In the electric space, yeah.
All
right. So number 2 is the new Z06. All right. So, you know, the mid-engine Corvette was the big news.
You're such a Corvette fanboy. I knew this was going to end up on this list.
I have a feeling that the Cybertruck's going to end up here somewhere. But, you know, the Z06 coming out, it's got that flat plane crank V8. So it's going to scream, you know, 8,500, 9,000 RPM. Sound like a Ferrari. I hate when people compare Corvettes to Ferraris because it's such an easy, you know, it's the poor man's Ferrari. But in this case, I'll take it because it sounds amazing.
You need a V8 plus, and you need like 9,000 revs plus to get that
scream.
That whine. That
yeah.
Scream, yeah.
They're looking, you know, 600 plus horsepower. I think it's going to be a little bit lower than the prior generation Z06, but with the mid-engine platform, it's going to hook up. 0 to 60 times could be fast. You know, if the base model is doing 2.8, I believe is what the Z51's doing. Yeah, this Z06 is going to fly. And honestly, the price is cheap.
Cheaper than the Audi, right?
85 grand. Yeah. Now, honestly, if you're trying to be sophisticated, you don't buy a Corvette, but you buy an Audi. But no, I think that's just a great offering by Chevy.
It's a different buyer. It's a different buyer, different market.
Is.
We try to be a little diverse with this list.
Well, speaking of diverse, now we're gonna go from an electric car to a big.
Let's talk trucks.
You know, yeah.
Yes.
Straight on over the truck. Now, you know, this is started off as my list, right? So this is kind of going right into it. I like the mid-sized truck lineups. You know, I think that it's the perfect size. I feel like today's offerings of the F-150, the Ram 1500, and the Silverado are just too big of trucks right now. I think that for me, what I'm looking for with a smaller size truck, I bought one. I bought the Colorado. But, you know, I've always felt like the Colorado looks odd. You know, it's narrow and tall, and it never looked great to me. But Ram is, you know, Chevy split out the, or I'm sorry, not Chevy. Dodge has split out the Ram name into its own truck brand, right? So it used to be the Dodge Ram and the Dodge Dakota.
Okay.
Now it's just the Ram 1500 and plus. And now it's going to be the Ram Dakota. So they're bringing back the Dakota. Yeah.
The Ram Dakota.
The Ram Dakota, which is, you know, coming from someone that always, had the Dodges, it's like, wait, which is it? Is it the Ram or is it the Dakota? I don't get it. But it's the new Dakota. It's same platform as the Jeep Gladiator. So, Jeep's got that great Gladiator truck that,
Oh, that's a good size.
It's good
footprint,
size.
Yeah.
Starting about mid 20s, so great starting price, could be competitive. 3.6 liter V6 is expected to be in there. My only concern is it's a crowded market right now. That midsize truck
for midsize trucks. Yeah.
It's crowded. It's gonna be tough to be a new offering in that market. Now, It's probably gonna look good, and that's gonna help it. But I mean, you have the Colorado, you have the Ranger, you have the Honda Ridgeline, the Tacoma, of course. Yeah,
the Tacoma's selling really well. I'm seeing a lot of those on the road.
I believe Nissan's got a new Frontier coming out. So, I mean, exactly. There's just a lot of...
And those are all going to be in the same price point.
Oh, yeah.
Or cheaper, too. So
it's going to be tough for Ram and the new Dakota, but super cool to have.
So I'm assuming this makes the list partially because the Dakota is coming back, right? But it will be... I mean, it's going to be hard to differentiate, like you said. It'll be interesting to see if this one flops or not.
Well, of course, I had the 98 Dakota for a while. I love that thing, and those things are iconic, and they just never stop. The next generation's look was a little bit polarizing. I felt I didn't like the look of it all too much. But the new one, I from the spy photos or whatever renditions where we're at right now, spy photos, it looks really good. It looks good. I feel like the Ranger looks a little weird. I feel like the Colorado looks a little weird. Tacoma looks fantastic, like always. But I'm interested to see what the Dakota looks like.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, I'll go for my nominations here now. Right. I guess speaking of new brands or new products coming back, the Ford Bronco.
Yes.
2021. So return of the OG Bronco, right? And this is like differentiates itself in that, mid or large sort of truck SUV market because it's got all the removable Bronco panels, right?
Oh,
so
yeah.
Take the roof off, take the doors off, just, that old school, Jeep off-roading look. 3 different power plant packages on this one. I think so the 2.3 liter 4-cylinder, that's 270 horsepower. I think that's going to be the entry level cost one. I think the entry level is supposed to be in the 30s or low 40s.
Yeah,
right?
I think that's about right. Yeah.
I think the most popular one though is going to be the 2.7 liter V6. So the 310 horsepower, 400 pound-feet of torque. It's plenty of power to do with whatever you want. It's going to be fun to drive. And this was interesting that you brought up to me earlier. Hennessy is actually building a version of the Bronco that's going to be a V8 with 750 horsepower. So the Hennessy Bronco, that is going to be a fun one to drive. I'm certainly going to find one of those, track one down, and drive it.
Well, I'm sorry to set you up for this one, but Hennessy is making this great vehicle, but they're only making 24 of them. They're like, you know what? We just want you guys to get super excited about this, but we're just going to have it stuffed in some guy's garage to appreciate over time. Now, what I will say, though, is I hope that opens the door and Ford brings out a V8 Bronco like they should. Mm-hmm. They need to.
Agreed.
They have lots of V8s to put in there.
Yep. I hope they come up with an electric Bronco, too.
Oh, yeah.
2023, 2024, maybe that'll be on the list.
An honorable mention that we didn't put on here is the new Jeep 4xe, the plug-in hybrid Rubicon.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, it's a plug-in hybrid. It's not electric. I get it, but it's got 50 miles of electric range and 400 total. And so I feel like that's the first foray into it, right? So I think that there's definitely room for a Ford Bronco. And I'll be honest with you, when the Bronco was being announced, like, I wanted to hate it. I wanted to say, oh, come on. You're just following the Jeep, all right? It's just a Jeep.
It just looks too fun, man. It looks too fun.
It just looks too good, too fun. They did a great job, man. Yeah. Props to Ford on that one.
Yep. And I hope they sell a lot, too, because this is supposed to pick up the slack from them no longer selling the sedans. So
don't get me started.
My last nomination here, I guess number 5 is, and I've been recently enthused by this category, the V6 turbo 2-seat rear wheel drive, sports coupes. Mm-hmm. The Nissan 400Z, and this is a direct competitor to the Supra, which we drove around last weekend. We have a video on that if you guys want to watch that. It's going to be in the 300 to 400 horsepower range. It's going to be $45,000 to start. Pretty similar to the Supra, which is, I think, based on your package, 50 to 60 grand. So right in that ballpark. The Nissan 400Z though makes this list and the Supra does not, because the Supra does not have a manual transmission.
Yeah.
With all the fun noises and sounds and revving activity in the Supra, that's what I really wanted, was a manual transmission. And the 400Z is not just forcing us into the Triptonics or the quick shift or the paddle shifters.
Hey, it's faster.
Right. And sure, you're not going to get like a perfect 0 to 60 time with a manual transmission. I understand that, but for that like half second that you have to sacrifice, I would rather take a manual transmission over that half second. I'm going to occasionally.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And the estimates have been 300 to 400 horsepower on the 400Z. With Supra up into 385, I can almost guarantee that Nissan's throwing that Infiniti 400 horsepower in there. And it's going to be a great competition for years to come.
Yep. So that's the top 5 most anticipated new vehicles of 2021. If you like the content, if you want more, please like, subscribe. We'll close out with 3 honorable mentions that are fighting kind of in the same category, and that is just electric trucks and electric trucks in general, full sized.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, electric trucks, all right. I think we're all excited for what's coming, all right. And now manufacturers are catching on to, hey, trucks are our most profitable, vehicles. They got some room and they're big and they can weigh a lot. Let's make them into EVs. So, of course, the existing entry is going to be the Hummer EV. Of course, Hummer hasn't been made for a decade, but it's the existing vehicle and it looks great. It's an off-roader. Super excited for it. Next is your favorite vehicle, the Cybertruck.
Yes.
Now, the Cybertruck is everything that a electric truck should be. My concern is that it's polarizing.
The look is polarizing, but the Cybertruck also is going to be like the most technologically like forward. The autopilot's going to be better, just like everything tech related, like other than, and I can't even say this for the battery and the motor either, but it's going to be just a tech marvel, right? Hummer EV's got more personality. It does have the removable panels. It's more, for the like off-road market. And it's easier on the eyes too. It's not as polarizing, like you said, as the Cybertruck. And then the Rivian is, I think, should be on that list too. Yeah. And that's, Rivian, even though they've been slow to market, they're supposed to have a lot of great stuff, a lot of good, outdoorsy 4-wheel drive, mid-sized, large-sized vehicles.
400 miles of range. They have, of course, the Amazon money.
And if you don't want to own, I think the people that are going to buy a Rivian are the people that don't want to own a GM.
Yeah.
And you don't want to be polarized.
And
right?
you want to have a normal pickup truck, right? I've been super
adventure
excited.
Vehicle, I think is what they call it.
I've been super excited by the Cybertruck because of all the cool renditions of the accessories that it could have. So there's trailers and things like that. And of course, we've all seen the quad. I like, it's kind of like the Apple ecosystem. You're like, man, I really like the iPhone because I like AirPods. I like all this other stuff. The iWatch. It's kind of like that with Tesla right now. They just have such a great ecosystem of products. You brought up autopilot. That's why I like the Cybertruck. But for me, right now, Cybertruck's supposed to be the cheapest. Hummer, rumor 100,000. I don't think it's actually going to come out that way. And Rivian's saying that their mid-size or mid-models could be about 69. So, who knows, 45 or so, let's call it, for an entry level. The Cybertruck just has a lot of things going for it.
You're going to get so much value for money with the Cybertruck. Even if you go with the don't get the single motor, and if you're going to get a truck, get 4-wheel drive, get the dual motor configuration. So you're going to get so much for, what, 49,000?
Yeah.
Plus
easy.
Extras.